They say a wedding is the happiest day of a woman's life. I wasn't asking for a fairy tale, just a day that felt like mine. One day to breathe, to be seen, not as someone's daughter, someone's helper, someone's convenient peacekeeper, but as myself. My name's Sylvie. I'm the youngest of 3 girls. Growing up, I learned early that if I kept quiet, things stayed calm. If I smiled enough, they called me sweet. And if I stayed helpful, they left me alone. That's how I became invisible, not in the dramatic sense, just quietly, day by day. The middle sister made noise. The oldest made decisions. I smoothed over the cracks. Now here I was in my small apartment in Houston, ironing the hem of my wedding dress while the soft hum of the air conditioner competed with my thoughts. 2 weeks until the big day. Elijah, my fiancé, had just left for work. He's the kind of man who doesn't make a scene. Steady. Present. A quiet type, but in the way that makes you feel safe, not unseen. He was the first person who looked at me and made me feel like I wasn't background noise. Then there was Candace, my soon-to-be mother-in-law. Elegant, always put together. The kind of woman who knows the difference between buttercream and fondant, and won't let you forget it. We'd been getting along, at least that's what I told myself. Or maybe we were just pretending well enough. That morning, I opened our wedding spreadsheet to check RSVPs and saw something that didn't sit right. A line item. Catering deposit, $3,000. The number wasn't familiar. I hadn't made that payment. I hadn't even confirmed the caterer yet. I picked up the phone. Candace? I kept my tone light. Hey, I was just going over the wedding spreadsheet. Did you happen to make a catering deposit? Oh, sweetheart, she laughed softly, like I'd caught her being generous. Yes, I handled it. The caterer called and said they needed it to hold the date. Just a little mix-up. These vendors make mistakes all the time. I wanted to believe her. I really did. She sounded so maternal, so smooth. Later that evening, my older sister Kay called. She didn't even say hello before diving in. Don't let people get away with things just because it's easier than confrontation. I laughed. That obvious, huh? Always has been. You've been making peace since you were 6 years old. Doesn't mean it's the right thing every time. After we hung up, I stared at the ceiling for a long while. It's funny how you can feel something shifting beneath your feet before anything actually moves. That night, I remembered something. Something old, but sticky. A Thanksgiving 5 years ago. Candace was carving turkey and chatting with Elijah's cousin. I always told my boys, she said, loud enough for the table to hear, marry up, don't settle. Then she looked directly at me and smiled. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But I never forgot. People don't always hit you with fists. Sometimes it's with expectations. Jokes. Silence. The next morning, I couldn't shake the weird feeling, so I called the caterer. Hi, I'm just confirming the deposit made for the Johnson DeLong wedding? The voice on the other end was cheerful. Yes, we received $5,000 last week under Candace DeLong's name. 5? I repeated. Yes, ma'am. I hung up. Opened my bank app. Scrolled. There it was. Vendor TX. A withdrawal. $5,000. Not from our joint account, from mine. I asked Elijah about it. He looked confused. No, I haven't touched anything. I didn't say much after that. Just nodded, but something in me tightened. I wanted it to be a mistake, needed it to be. But there it was, sitting in black and white, like a quiet alarm no one else could hear. That afternoon, Candace showed up unannounced, arms full of white tulle and gold-trimmed signage. Thought I'd drop off a few things for the reception, she chirped, stepping into my living room like she owned it. She was all charm, offering to take tasks off my plate. You look tired, sweetie. Let me handle the flower arrangements. You don't need the stress. I smiled, thanked her. But inside, something clenched. She wasn't just helping. She was taking over. I watched her smooth out the table runner she brought. Lace, not what I'd picked. I was the bride, I thought, but it was starting to feel like someone else was planning her own dream wedding, with my name on the invitation. That night, after she left, I sat with a glass of water in the dim kitchen. My laptop still open. Something told me to check the statement again. That's when I saw it. Another charge. Not 5, not 3, $30,000. Gone. The sun was barely up when I opened my eyes. I hadn't slept. Not really. My body had rested, but my mind was still stuck in the night before, staring at that $5,000 charge, trying to convince myself it meant nothing more than a mistake. But I knew. I already knew. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and opened the banking app again, needing to see it one more time. Maybe the numbers would look different in the daylight. Maybe sleep had just twisted everything. They hadn't changed. I scrolled through the transaction history again. Then my breath caught. Event Services. TX. $30,000. Transferred from my personal card. Not the joint wedding account. Not a business card. Mine. I tapped on the line, hands trembling. The transfer was marked completed 13 days ago. Right around the same time Candace had started helping with the venue calls. I dropped the phone in my lap, let my head fall back against the headboard. Silence. No tears. No yelling. Just this cold feeling crawling up my neck like someone had slipped ice down my spine. She'd taken it, not a mistake, not a mix-up, not vendor confusion. She stole from me. And worse, she'd smiled while doing it. My thumb hovered over Elijah's name in my contacts. I wanted to text him, to call, to scream. But I stopped. I needed to be sure. Not just sure in my gut, but sure in a way that couldn't be twisted, denied, gaslit. I needed proof. I called the bank. The woman on the line had a soft voice. Asked for my security info, clicked through tabs. Yes, the charge was processed online, she said. It looks like the login credentials were updated 2 weeks ago. PIN was reset through the app. I blinked. Can you see where the login came from? There was a pause, then typing. Yes. The IP address tracks to a residential location, registered to a Candace DeLong. Does that sound familiar? I swallowed hard. Yes, I whispered. She kept going. Explained the fraud policy, said I'd have to file a claim, mentioned the phrase internal theft. The words felt foreign, too sharp for the soft southern air I'd grown up in. Ma'am? She asked again. I heard you, I replied. Then quieter, like I was confessing something shameful. My mother-in-law stole from me. That line didn't sound real. It echoed. It rattled in my ribs like a warning bell. By late morning, I'd showered, dressed, and packed a brown paper bag with sandwiches from the deli downstairs. I told myself I was just being thoughtful, bringing Elijah lunch. But deep down, I was looking for something in his face. Guilt, hesitation, anything. His office was quiet when I walked in. He smiled when he saw me, warm, soft, innocent. Wow, this is a surprise, he said, standing up to kiss my cheek. What's the occasion? No occasion, I lied. Just wanted to see you. We sat on the small couch by the window, unwrapped our sandwiches. He started talking about wedding details, how his mom had been a huge help, how she'd found a cheaper florist, and was really pulling things together. I nodded, said nothing, just chewed slowly and watched his face. So you don't know, not yet. I excused myself early, said I had a dress fitting, but instead I parked a few blocks from our apartment and sat in the car, phone in hand, screenshots, bank transactions, email confirmations, IP logs. I saved them all in a folder titled Proof. Back home, I poured myself coffee and sat in silence. The walls felt thinner than usual, the clock louder. I kept replaying that phrase again and again. My credit was too low. Those weren't my words. They came from Corinne. She called that evening, just as I was folding laundry, casual, cheerful. Mom says you've been amazing, letting her take over the budget and all that. I paused. My hand froze over a towel. Oh? I said carefully. What exactly did she say she paid for? Corinne giggled. Basically everything. Venue, caterer, DJ. She said she had to charge it all privately since, well, you know, credit issues and all. Credit issues? That woman stood in my living room 2 nights ago, smiled at me, and painted herself as the savior. And now she was telling people I couldn't afford my own wedding? She said that? I asked, forcing my voice to stay light. Yeah, but don't take it the wrong way, Corinne added quickly. She said it with love, just trying to help. Help. Funny how that word can cut like a knife when it's wrapped in condescension. She wasn't helping. She was rewriting history, turning me into the poor, irresponsible bride who should be grateful anyone showed up at all. This wasn't just theft, it was erasure. That night, I sat on the couch with the lights off, just the glow of my phone screen in my lap. I opened the Notes app, typed one line. They think I won't fight back. Let's see, 12 days to go. I could feel the pressure ticking like a slow metronome behind my eyes. The apartment was full of half-opened boxes, vases, ribbons, place cards. Somewhere between the mess and the madness, a new package arrived, wrapped in soft ivory tissue and tied with a deep navy ribbon. Inside, a hand-blown glass vase. Stunning. The kind Elijah and I had picked out together weeks ago from a little boutique near Montrose. I remembered the day clearly. We'd laughed about how impractical it was, but bought it anyway. Something grown up, he said. To start our life with a little beauty. I stood admiring it on the counter when the doorbell rang. Candace. She came in with a breeze of floral perfume, holding a tray of lemon bars. Behind her, a few extended relatives trickled in, her sisters, a cousin from Austin. Casual get-together. She was hosting but insisted it be at our place. I didn't fight her. As everyone gathered around, Candace's eyes landed on the vase. "Oh, I'm so glad it arrived," she said loudly, turning to her sister. "That's from my favorite store, you know, the one off Richmond. I just thought Sylvie would love something with elegance." Everyone smiled politely. Some nodded. One aunt even clapped softly. I stood there, still holding the ribbon in my hand. "Your bride-to-be must appreciate fine taste like mine," Candace added with a grin. I smiled back. Small, not wide, not angry, just contained. Like the part of me that wanted to scream had been stuffed in a box and left somewhere under the table. Later that night, I checked the registry receipt. My name, my card, my purchase. That vase was from me. From us. And yet she'd stood in front of a room of people and claimed it. Like it was hers. Like I was a guest at my own shower. The betrayal wasn't loud. It didn't come with yelling or slammed doors. It whispered. And the whisper echoed. I didn't cry. Not then. I just sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone, scrolling back to the original registry confirmation. Email. Screenshot. Then another one. I took a photo of the receipt, added it to a folder, labeled it, Wedding Lies. At first I thought I was being petty. Then I remembered last Thanksgiving. I cooked for hours. Elijah's family came over. Candace had brought one pie, store-bought, and later told her friends she hosted Thanksgiving. Or when she bragged about handling the wedding finances, saying how hard she worked to keep us under budget, she always adds, "Sylvie helped a little. A little. It's not the lies that cut you. It's how easily they're told." I picked up the phone and called Jeannie. "Did you notice Candace said the vase was from her?" There was a pause on the other end. "I did," she said. And something in my gut twisted. She went quiet, then added, "My mom once told my friends she got me into Yale. She didn't even fill out the application." I never forgot how that felt. That moment, I didn't feel crazy. I didn't feel dramatic. I just felt seen. Jeannie and I talked for a while, about mothers, expectations, about being daughters who always nod and swallow the bitter parts with a smile. When we hung up, I felt calmer, still wounded, but not alone. That weekend, we had another pre-wedding brunch. Candace's idea, just close friends. She brought up the vase again, proudly gesturing toward it like a trophy. "My gift to the bride," she said. A few heads turned to me. I caught someone's eye, maybe a friend of Elijah's cousin. There was hesitation there, a flicker of something. Elijah stood beside me, smiled. "Thank you, Mom. That's lovely." I couldn't tell if he believed her or if he was just avoiding the conflict. Either way, it landed wrong. Later, when the guests had left, I asked him, "Why didn't you say anything?" He looked at me, caught off guard. Say what? That it wasn't her gift. That she didn't pay for it. He paused, looked uncomfortable. She meant well. It's just a vase. No, I said quietly. It's not just a vase. He didn't respond. I added, you don't speak up because you think I'll break. That if I start to fight back, it'll get ugly. He looked down. I didn't press further. I already knew. That night, I pulled out my journal, wrote 5 words. They are erasing me slowly. Then under it, if they lie in public, I'll correct them in public. If they steal in silence, I'll collect the proof. This isn't just a wedding. It's a war for who I am allowed to be. I stared at the page for a long time, then added one more line. This is still my moment. The next morning, a notification pinged on my phone. Bank statement alert, another charge, another lie. It was 10 days before the wedding, and I held the ring box in my hand with an extra weight I hadn't expected. Elijah and I had gone to the jeweler that morning. I knew there would be engraving, of course, our initials, small and steady, telling a story of us. I expected S-E and E-S. Instead, I saw E-H. Her initials, Candace's. They errored. The jeweler stammered. We'll fix it, he said. I nodded, but inside, my pulse was loud. Silence had always been my refuge, until I realized silence is not peace. It lets people redraw your edges when you're not watching. Later that day at rehearsal evening, I practiced my speech alone in the guest room. I practiced the gratitude, the promise, the voice I hoped would feel true. Gratitude to my parents, to Elijah's, to Candace. I pictured my voice breaking, wanting to let them see what it meant to me. When I practiced in front of Jeannie, she squeezed my hand and said, "You deserve to be heard." Wedding day came. Candace stood first to speak at the ceremony, then another guest, then the MC walked toward me, but paused. "We're running late. We'll save her speech for later," he said. I stood there, sleeves tight in my palms, breath rolling shallow. Everyone looked. Some whispered. Candace smiled, as if it were her idea to postpone. I forced a smile back, still holding my speech written neatly on my phone. Over dinner, family laughed about small things, flowers, food, photos. Then someone asked why the schedule had changed. Candace said, "Out of respect, we thought it better not to overwhelm Sylvie." Someone else nodded. A cousin whispered, "She's always been sensitive." I bit back a retort. "I'm not fragile. I'm ignored." That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking of all the other moments when I wanted to send thank you notes and she said, "Host family will handle that." When she told me I was too soft to handle social obligations. When she insisted on speaking first because real hosts should, each of those moments had felt small alone. Together, they built a pattern. I decided I would reclaim my voice. I messaged Roxanne late, asked what rights I had to the ceremony schedule. I wrote out my speech fully that night, saved rehearsal announcements, email drafts, everything. I rehearsed in my mind what I would say if I had to stand up in that room and correct her. Morning came. I found an email from the event organizer forwarded to me. Subject: Please make sure Sylvie's speech isn't noticed. People are losing patience if she speaks too little. My hands shook. Betrayal confirmed. I held the ring box in one hand, my speech in the other. So they planned this all along, but I'll still be heard. It was a quiet afternoon, 9 days before the wedding, and I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my inbox, trying to clear my mind. That's when a message came in, forwarded, no subject line, just a long thread of texts from a group chat I'd never seen before. It was about the welcome brunch. I froze. My name wasn't in the recipient list, but there it was. Candace's name up top, coordinating with family and friends, sending photos of the venue options, picking out color schemes for the napkins and linens. The brunch I had offered to help plan. The brunch, she told me, was still undecided. Someone in the chat had sent a message with a smiling emoji. "Can't wait for your sister-in-law to see what mom's done." My stomach twisted. I opened a reply window and started typing. "Hey, I thought I was helping plan this brunch." But I didn't send it. I just stared at the blinking cursor like it might rewrite history. It wasn't the first time I'd been excluded. But it hit different when it's people who are supposed to be your people. My thoughts spiraled. Maybe they think I'm too controlling. Maybe I talk too much. Maybe I've been too quiet. Maybe I'm not enough. Or too much. I remembered the last time I tried to help. Candace said, "Why don't you just let the pros handle it?" I wasn't a pro. I was just the bride. I sat in front of the mirror and looked at myself. "You're strong. You're not overreacting." I said it out loud, but the room didn't echo back belief. I pulled up old emails, venue confirmations, food quotes, linen swatches. I started comparing what was in the thread to what I had paid for. They used my venue. They used my menu. They used the decor I had chosen for the rehearsal dinner. But now, it was theirs. That evening, I messaged Candace directly. "Hey, just wondering, why wasn't I included in the brunch planning thread?" Her reply was instant. "Oh, honey, I didn't want to stress you. It's just a little brunch, no big deal." She added a heart emoji. I didn't reply. The next morning, I drafted a message in that same group chat. I kept it light. "Hey everyone, I just saw some of the fun ideas y'all are working on for the brunch. I'd love to help out too. Maybe we can adjust the vendor costs so everyone can contribute." Silence. 1 minute, then another. Then came a polite, "Sure, sounds good," from a cousin. 1 or 2 thumbs up. That was it. Candace didn't respond at all. That night, Elijah texted, "Hey, I saw your message in the brunch chat. I think it's great you want to be involved. Just hope it doesn't cause any drama." His words didn't soothe. They burned. Drama is what people call it when a woman finally decides she's done being quiet. I didn't reply. Later that night, I checked my phone again. Candace had posted a photo carousel on Facebook. Brunch preview, same venue. Same lavender and cream floral I had chosen for the rehearsal dinner. She captioned it, "Everything is falling into place thanks to Mom." Comment after comment poured in, "You're amazing, Candace. The bride is so lucky. You should be a wedding planner." No one tagged me, no one mentioned me. I opened my laptop, pulled out my notes, receipts, emails, all the messages from months ago. The ones that showed the brunch was my idea, my venue, my design. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I saved everything into a folder. Proof. Tomorrow, I'd gather someone who's been watching this from the sidelines. Someone who's tired of being silent too. 7 days out. The house felt smaller, or maybe I just felt smaller in it. The decorations were arriving, guests confirming, schedules changing. Everything pointed toward the ceremony, but something in me shifted. That morning, an email popped into my inbox from the venue's management addressed to Ms. Sylvie DeLong's organization. I stared at that line, the formal tone, my own name on the agreement. Documents, sealed and signed. The deed showed me, not Candace. I hid the purchase under my business name so she wouldn't have control. Weeks ago, not because I hated conflict, because I knew. At a family lunch that day, Candace sat across from me, laughing and chatting. She watched the MC and relatives lean in. She said, loud enough, "I made sure the public saw my name as if I held the deed. After all, contracts get messy, don't they?" She turned toward them, voice light, smile sure. Everyone nodded, chuckled. I pretended to sip tea, pretending calm. But inside, I heard each word like a crack in the foundation. I saw it in earlier moments now. The vase, the speech schedule, brunch planning, all part of the same erasure. I thought about times I stayed silent to avoid tears, to avoid shame. But today, silence felt like consent. I sat on that bench, contract in hand, heart pounding. I thought, I didn't buy this venue so I could hand over its story. I bought it because I deserved a place to speak, to be seen. By afternoon, I pulled together proof, contract, deed, bank records. I laid them on the kitchen table. I messaged Roxanne. "Do I have a right to claim this publicly?" She typed back. "You own your story. Don't let anyone else narrate it for you." Her words hung in the air, fierce. That evening, setting up for the rehearsal, I saw the sign by the entrance. Haraway Estate, venue provided by Candace Haraway. It was polished. Guests arriving, Candace in her dress, smiling. Someone said, "She's doing such a gracious job hosting this." I watched myself in a mirror nearby, holding the ring box tight, fight the urge to stand in the light and say, "No, I booked this place. My name is on the contract." Instead, I took a deep breath and snapped a photo of the sign. Then another of the contract. I slipped both into my folder labeled Truth, because tomorrow, I knew, I would need them. 3 days before the rehearsal dinner, I felt a storm brewing I couldn't ignore. I had carried proof, yes, but proof alone doesn't speak in a crowded room. It's the moment someone else hears you, sees you, stands up with you. Today was that moment. We gathered for brunch at Aunt Lydia's house, a neutral ground, lots of polite smiles and soft light. Candace hosted, of course, seated at the head of the long table, chatting about centerpieces, florals, linen changes. She turned to a distant cousin and said, loud enough for most to hear, "Sylvie always wants credit for what I do anyway." A laugh like it was light-hearted, a shot like it was pointed. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. Some heads turned, some faces froze. Elijah's jaw tightened. He didn't say anything. I forced a smile. I held back saying what I wanted. Credit isn't what I'm after. Truth is. But I didn't. Instead, I made a mental note. This comment matters. This moment matters. After everyone left, I checked my bank notifications. There it was, a charge for wedding decor fee under Candace's name, but the charge came from my account. That push, something inside me shifted. This was no longer about feeling small. It was about my name, my credit, my boundary. I spread the statements out on my desk that night. Original $30K, the smaller charges, the overdrafts, the fees listed under her name but pulling from my funds. I sat in silence, watching the lines dance before me. Betrayal wasn't just words anymore. It was dollars and cents and trust spent without consent. I texted Jeannie. "I used to think anger would cost me more than staying quiet. I was wrong." Her reply, "You deserve more than silent breadcrumbs." Those words lit something steady inside me, a resolve I could taste. I asked Candace to meet with all of us, Elijah, Roxanne, family, just to talk. At the meeting, I laid out the evidence, bank statements, screenshots, emails, the list of forgotten payments. Candace tried to defend. "I thought this was family," she said. "Wanted things handled smoothly." I stopped her. Respect is action. Ownership of truth matters. I want my name removed from the false acknowledgments, and I want those charges refunded. Elijah surprised me. "Mom, you may have thought things were easier this way, but you've crossed a line." Voices rose. Some took my side. Some glared at me. Candace looked shocked. Defensiveness mingled with something else. Maybe regret. Maybe fear. Walking home later, I saw a florist's van parked at my driveway. Candace Haraway Floral Designs was painted on the side. They were delivering centerpieces I'd chosen. I snapped its picture. I pulled up the receipt in my phone. Everything was there. A message from Corinne came just as I closed my front door. "The family's wondering who's going to give Sylvie's speech tonight." I looked in the mirror as I stood inside my living room. There was steel behind my eyes. Tonight, I would decide whether I let them pretend or whether I would write my own ending. I woke before the sun. My body was tired, but my mind wouldn't rest. Today wasn't just the rehearsal dinner. It was the line I'd decided to stop crossing. No more blending in. No more silence sold as grace. I sat at my desk, folder open, everything laid out in front of me. Contracts, bank statements, receipts, email threads. I knew each document by heart now. Elijah stood in the doorway watching me. "You don't have to do this tonight," he said gently. I looked up. "Tonight's not about starting a fight," I told him. "It's about ending the lie." Jeannie texted a few minutes later. "You ready?" "Been ready longer than they know." Before I left the house, I pinned the maple leaf brooch onto my lapel. It wasn't expensive, but it was mine. It reminded me of the strength I'd come from. Quiet women who didn't make noise, but never let anyone forget who they were. I was becoming one of them, Not despite the conflict, but because of it. By mid-afternoon, I arrived at the venue early. The staff were setting up the tables, draping soft linen across each seat, laying out name cards. There were banners rolled up on a table, one already placed by the door. Haraway Estate, hosted by Candace Haraway. I found the coordinator, calmly handed her the signed contract with my name highlighted. "Please use the signage that matches the contract," I said. Venue was booked under Sylvie DeLong. She blinked, hesitated, then nodded. "Understood." Guests began to arrive. Candace was in full form, greeting everyone like royalty. Compliments rolled in. "She's outdone herself again." I nodded politely as people passed. I heard a few guests murmur to each other. I thought Sylvie handled the venue. Others shrugged. No one asked me directly. I stayed composed. At one point, the MC did a mic check, and I heard him rehearsing. "Tonight's dinner is arranged by Candace Haraway and family." I didn't raise my voice. I just spoke. The firm, clear. "Actually, it's arranged through Sylvie DeLong." The room turned. The MC looked surprised. Someone near the front whispered, "Wait, what?" Candace was mid-conversation. Her smile faltered for a second, but she caught herself. That brief flash, though. I saw it. So did others. The shift wasn't loud, but it was real. Later, I stepped aside for some air, and that's when Viviette approached me. She handed me a manila folder. "I kept this," she said softly, "just in case anyone ever questioned it." Inside was a copy of the original venue contract, signed, dated, paid from my business account, proof of ownership, proof I hadn't imagined all this. I walked back inside and stood by the dessert table. A few family members were gathered nearby. Elijah, his uncle, 2 cousins, even Candace. I pulled out the folder and read the details aloud. Quiet, but clear. Venue booking confirmed under Sylvie DeLong. Deposit paid April 3rd. Decorations and design confirmed May 12th. Candace's eyes narrowed. "Sylvie, this is not the time." I didn't look at her, just finished reading. The room didn't explode. It didn't need to. The silence was enough. Some faces looked stunned. Others just turned away. But no one called me a liar. Not this time. I was halfway through dessert when my phone buzzed. It was Roxanne. I stepped out again to take the call. "Bank just froze all wedding-related accounts linked to Candace's name," she said. "They're investigating based on the documents you provided. It's done." Back inside, the energy had shifted. People were still eating, but quieter now. Candace had left her seat. Elijah found me near the door and squeezed my hand. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. As dinner wound down, Candace reappeared. She stood at the edge of the room, her shoulders set. When she cleared her throat, the conversation paused. "I think," she said slowly, "there's more to this than we all know." Everyone turned. Her eyes met mine. I straightened my spine. "Yes," I said. "And soon, everyone will." The weight of the room sat on that silence, a stillness thick with truth long ignored. I didn't need applause. I didn't need revenge. I had finally made the lie stop moving. Tomorrow I'd walk into the wedding not as a guest, but as the woman who made the reckoning possible. The sun dipped low over Riverside Gardens, casting salmon-pink light through the stained glass. I woke that afternoon to soft laughter in the halls, to the scent of gardenias and jasmine drifting in through my window. It was my wedding day. The final chapter. I felt something I hadn't allowed myself in weeks. Peace. Not the numb kind. The steady kind. I picked at a letter I wrote a year ago, tucked away in my journal. Love with dignity. Celebration without apology. I'd written it for someone I was becoming, someone who would weather storms. Jeannie helped me lace my shoes, placed gentle kisses on my shoulders, said softly, "You've already won, Sylvie." Viviette's text came. "Candace left something for you." My breath caught. I had no idea what it meant. Ceremony hour came. Guests arrived wrapped in smiles and new expectations. People who once doubted gave nods. Tall strangers said how beautiful the gardens looked. Elijah's vow spoke of growth and patience. When it was my turn, I spoke to more than him, to the girl who begged for acknowledgement, to the silences I swallowed, to the pieces I stitched back together. I didn't use anger, I used truth. My words carried the weight of everything I'd endured. At the end, we stood married, a quiet verdict, but real. At the reception, Jeannie handed me a white envelope. Viviette stood beside her. "She asked me to give this," Jeannie said. Inside was a letter from Candace. Toned down, beyond the pride. She admitted, scanned receipts attached, acknowledged her theft. No long apology, just the truth. A confession. I read parts aloud to Elijah, to some close family, their faces, surprise, sorrow, relief. I felt free. Later, Viviette shared more. Candace's final message. She would step away, leave the estate, the planning, all of that to me. She would stop mask-smiling her way through events, stop pretending. She said she wasn't seeking redemption, she was choosing absence over chaos. And I barely whispered, then I choose presence over pain. I raised my glass, not for revenge, for beginnings. Tears glistened, applause rose, not because I crushed her, because I stood up for my own name. Night ended with me, sitting in the garden under lanterns, dress dusted with moss and petals. Elijah asleep inside. I wrote in my journal, "People say weddings are about love, but I think they're about honesty. And finally, I can live honestly." The maple leaf pin still clasped to my sash, a small badge of all the battles I carried. I thought of Grandma's words. It's not about how loud you fight. It's about how strong you stand. I closed my eyes. This wasn't just a wedding story. It was my self-worth story.